it would not be uncommon for me to have a class of maybe 20 kids, and within that class, I have 4 students with completely different situations that I had to accommodate within a single class. That's not very common in a public school, because in a public school, if that situation were to occur, there probably would be a special education teacher that was assigned to them. They might even be in a different class, depending on. But the private school I worked in did not have any situation like that. It was everybody was in the same contained classroom, if you will. And at the private school, I also had a number of students who had a lot of unique situations. I'm going to tell you guys a story about one of them, which kind of led me to something called an LMS. Have you guys ever heard of an LMS before?
No.
You guys use a program called Canvas, right?
Yeah.
Canvas is what's known as a learning management system. That lovely thing that you turn in homework on and you see assignments for, okay? Learning management system. Schools are adapting to being in the 21st century, and what that means is that we recognize that our students want to be, well, I shouldn't say want to be, but live in a world that is technology-based, okay? They are glued to their cell phones. A lot of you are secondary. You will experience what I call cell phone anxiety. Okay, and I kid you not, I have had parents email me and yell at me about taking away their child's cell phone because it caused them anxiety. And I believe it's true, because you know what? I know that from psychological studies that if I took all your cell phones right now and put them all right here, and I made one of them artificially go off, like your fight or flight response would actually get activated. Your heart would start beating faster, you'd start sweating, like, oh my God, that's my phone. But our students live in a world where everything is part of that. And so in the 21st century, we're switching over to these things called a learning management system, a way for us to be online and be active with our students. Now, when I worked at the private school, like I said, there were a number of unique situations. People would send their kid to a private Catholic school because they wanted the Catholic education, because they were very conservative, because their child wasn't getting the needs that they thought they needed in a public school, because their child maybe had a unique set of circumstances that could have gotten them in trouble with truancy. So we had a student who, sorry, that's there, we had a student who played travel hockey and whose brother had actually signed with one of the national teams. I mean, so we're talking about on a very high level. Going to be gone a lot. And then I had one student, probably the most unique situation of all, whose family raised and bred horses. And apparently, news to me, that there is quite a difference in the horse market between Michigan and Florida. And so what they would do is they would raise the horses here, take them down to Florida, and that same horse would sell for a significant chunk more than it would here in Michigan. And so the daughter's role in that family was actually to ride horses for these people that are looking to buy horses. So the mother comes in and she says, my kid's gonna be gone for 2 months at a time. You gotta figure this out. Okay, great. Oh, and I was teaching her chemistry. It's like, all right, but how do I do this? And that's how I got on this journey of finding what we call today an LMS. At the time, I was just looking for something that would enable me to teach this kid for 2 months at a time while she was gone and try and keep her on pace. So I tried, maybe something you guys may be familiar with, Google Classroom. You guys heard of it before? I tried to set up a Google Classroom, but Google Classrooms required that the teacher and the student have the same email address, which we did not have. So they won't work with anybody that just has a Gmail. You have to have the same blah, 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 email. So I couldn't use that. I had a traditional website through a free service called Weebly. I don't know if you guys have heard of that before, but I had a website like that. And eventually I ended up finding this thing called Schoology. Schoology, you guys heard of Schoology before? Okay. Schoology is actually the learning management system that my school currently uses. Have you guys seen Schoology before? Just heard of it? Okay, let me take you on a journey to Schoology real fast. So this is Schoology.
just change my password before break. Can I remember it? Yes. All right, so this is what's called a learning management system. So this kind of looks very similar to what you guys see, I believe you guys use the program Canvas here. Looks very similar to that. So this is what it looks like for me on the teacher side. So my students, they log on and they see a screen that looks very, very similar to this. They will see posts, and these are posts from me. These are all from when I was absent. This is unfortunate, I cannot be here, and here's me giving your assignment right now. Because I work at a school district right now that is one-to-one, meaning that every student has a device. So I can assign stuff through Schoology, and hypothetically they are supposed to do it while I'm not there. And they will see over here, they'll see reminders for assignments that are coming up due, and things that they need to submit. So in each of my courses, so I teach chemistry, so I'll show you chemistry right now. I have a number of different folders that I can organize. So it's kind of like having a classroom website, except that I can organize it into something that only my students can see. And I first found Schoology through Pinterest. I was looking for something to use for this student. Everything else I was trying was not working. And I found this as like an advertisement on Pinterest, and I said, what the heck, I'll try it, it's free, it doesn't cost any money to sign up and create one. So I ended up using it. I ended up really, really liking it and using it in classes from that point onward. And then lo and behold, when I got the job at my current district, they decided that they were going to use this as an entire district, as a learning management system that they use. So, yeah, here's exactly what my Schoology looks like. So I would really encourage you guys, especially those of you that are juniors, you're looking at working in a classroom, probably what, next year-ish or year after? Mm-hmm. Okay. Create something like this, because this is where education is kind of moving towards. What is this presence? And I'll be honest with you, there are certain things. I have been teaching now for 7 years. I've been out of the schoolroom, if you will. I graduated from college 8 years ago. We didn't talk about LMSs then. It was create your classroom website then. We didn't talk about data and stuff like that. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about data, but we didn't talk about this stuff. But it was things that I did encounter when I was asked questions about interviews. And it's because we live in a different world today, where parents want to be able to see exactly what's expected of their kid. They want to know what you're teaching them, both so that they can stay on top of them and so that their children can stay on top of themselves. But I would encourage you guys just to kind of play around with it. It's free to sign up for. And if you guys end up deciding you like it and you want to try using it in a classroom, this is called the access code. This is how you'd have your students sign up for it. And there are all kinds of tons of very helpful videos out there on this. My students, because it's our learning management system, they're automatically enrolled, so I don't have to do any of this, but just so you guys know for future reference. So I kind of stumbled on this LMS thing because of the unique set of circumstances that I face working in a private school with its unique students and their unique needs. But it's something that most schools are working towards, whether they're using Schoology, Google Classroom, PowerSchool, which is the grade program that a lot of school districts use. They're working on something called the Unified Classroom, which they haven't quite figured out exactly what it is, and to be honest with you, it's not quite there yet. I saw a very interesting demo of it. They sat us down for 2 hours and showed us things and read off of papers to us. Very fun. Look forward to all that stuff, right? It basically is kind of like a website embedded into PowerSchool. That would be for the students only. So that's out there too. And depending on where you work, it'd be a question that I'd have for your supervising teacher. What exactly are you guys using learning management? Are you using this? Are you using that? And they may have something or they may not, depending on where you're at. And that may be something too, if you guys have this and you'll be like, oh yeah, I know how to use this, 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 and this, then they'd be like, ooh,
person is sharp. They know what's up. And it kind of makes you stand out in that student teaching experience. Yes, sir?
Is there a nice mix of traditional and the future things right here? Like you would have like a traditional test on paper, not on the computer?
So at my school district, there are a lot of teachers that are moving to completely doing tests through Schoology, and they're doing less paper. I will tell you honestly, the kids hate it. The kids, they do not love their Chromebooks. We have Chromebooks. They do not like them. They don't like them because they know there's no longer excuses for why they don't have stuff done. They don't like dragging them with them, and they like using pen and paper still. They do like that. So I typically give pen and paper tests. I typically won't, but I will tell you honestly, most of my coworkers don't. And there's actually kind of a cool feature on Schoology. So you can make a test. I'm just gonna drive my kids crazy. This will also, because my school district has the paid version, I can sync this with my PowerSchool. There are some hiccups with that. If you ever want to talk about it, definitely be happy to talk to you a little bit about it. But in this, when you create tests, so you can create a test, and you see this little microphone?
Mm-hmm.
You can record it. So your students who have to have a test read aloud, you're reading the test aloud to them, and they can still test in the classroom, which the schools typically tend to be a little understaffed in terms of having someone to read a test out loud. And so having the ability to have you record it and push it out to them at their own pace, and they can click on it and read it, they really like that. So there are people that still do, like I said, I still use pen and paper tests, and there are people that have gone all in on this. I'm not quite there because every single time, well, I shouldn't say every single time, but I have run into a number of situations where, the internet has not been my friend, and I've had some hiccups with that. So it's a learning process. It's not perfect, not yet. And that depends on where you're working too. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Alright, so let's talk about some things in the classroom today. So I know you guys probably are familiar with what's expected of you. So they expect classroom management, and you take all kinds of classes on classroom management. They expect you to know your state standards, whether they be the Common Core, if you're English and math, next generation science standards. No one in here is really science, but you are elementary, so you get to learn all about these next generation science standards. Nice thing about elementary, these units are already all worked out for you. So they actually have all the materials out there. At the high school level, they're still figuring this out. So it's a little bit of a roller coaster for us. And then for social studies, technically you guys are still on the GLIX, or grade level content expectations. However, I hear the C3 framework might actually get passed sometime soon. Maybe not. But you would be expected to know what exactly your content standards are, and get to know them. And as the Common Core has been pushed through, the ideas from that English and that math have trickled down into science and social studies. And so you see a lot more of them focusing on bigger concepts and expecting students to be able to explain things and dig very deeply into material, which at a secondary level, for those years secondary level, is very hard to do. They're a group of kids that have been very used to, give me the correct answer, spit it out. Give me the correct answer, bam, 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 bam. And now you want me to talk to you? Now you're telling me that there's not a right answer? When I do this stuff with my students, they push back a lot. They don't like it. And